everyone. Welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell, and today on our show we have a couple folks from the Jerusalem Peacebuilders. And the Jerusalem Peacebuilders is an organization whose mission is to create a better future for humanity across religions, cultures, and nationalities by empowering youth leaders with the training and skills they need to become future peace builders in the global community. It's an amazing organization. It was founded by Reverend Nicholas and Dorothy Porter, who live here in Brattleboro. And each summer, young adults from Israel, Palestine, and America come together in West Brattleboro for an intensive 2-week leadership program. Today, we are lucky enough to have two of these participants with us. We have Lucy Goldman from Israel and Yousef Hassan from Palestine. Mm-hmm. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for taking time out of your busy, intensive week.
Yeah, of course.
And this is day 5?
Yes.
Yes. And you guys look good.
Thank you.
You look like you're surviving.
We are.
Trying to. Yes, yes. Has it been pretty intensive?
It has. It's been pretty intense. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, you have known each other before. You
Yes.
You each did a Peace Builders program last year in Texas.
Yeah, and we originally met each other last year in March. We had some kind of retreat where it was like just to show us a little bit of a taste for the camp. Mm-hmm. And it was in Nazareth.
So later we went to Texas. We went to our summer program last year in Texas. That's where we got to know each other the most. And we ended up being invited back to Vermont.
That's right. And so the Peace Builders, they have different tiers of programs for different ages. Is that how it works?
So you start off with the Connecticut program. I think that's ages 15, 16, if I'm not wrong. And then you have the Texas program, which is ages 16, 17. Mm-hmm. And then you have the last program, which is in Vermont, which is 17, 18.
Mm-hmm. You're originally from England?
I am.
Yeah.
I was born in Liverpool, and I moved to Manchester when I was 5 years old. And from Manchester, I moved to Modi'in, which is in Israel.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And so when you've been in Israel then for 9 years?
For 9 years, yes.
And Yousef, how about you?
I have been in the same old place since I was born.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very small place called Mashhad near a town called Nazareth in the northern district of Palestine, Israel.
And your family?
Yes, I have a sister, a mother, and a dad. My mom is a teacher at a school. My dad is a movie maker. He's a movie director. He writes scenarios. He's a producer as well. My sister is older than me. She's 2 years older. I'm the youngest sibling, and I have a cute little dog.
Yeah. Lucy, growing up in England, your family is Jewish.
Yes.
And were you practicing?
Yeah, we were extremely religious when we weren't exactly Hasidic, but we were very, very religious. My grandfather was a very famous chazan in Liverpool, a chazan being a religious leader. Mm-hmm. He was a very famous chazan in Liverpool, and we moved to Manchester, and my brother started practicing chazanut as well. And my parents were also practiced Judaism a lot. Mm-hmm. And I have 2 Hasidic sisters. That one lives in Manchester currently, and one lives in Beit Shemesh, which is in Israel.
In Israel?
Yes.
So there have been strong ties for you. Yeah. And is that something that you knew that where you would be moving to? Yeah,
we knew we were gonna move about a year before. It was a decision that my mother took. She decided that it would be safer, easier, and better for us to live in Israel. Considering the fact that we had experienced some anti-Semitism in Manchester. And from Manchester we moved to Modi'in, and we never looked back.
Yeah. A big move.
Big move.
So you were about 10 years old.
I was 9. Yeah, I was 9 years old.
That's right. And both of you are 18.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So now you're adults.
Yes, we are.
Well, I grew up in occupied Palestine, actually, which a lot of people know as Israel, and it's called as Israel. So it's not an easy place for a Muslim Arab to live in, and especially when you have other thoughts, you think otherwise. So you just basically don't fit in your community, and you don't fit in the other communities, because you should fit in your community. So yeah, it's really hard, because you just face racism from one side, and we face kind of not oppression, but like a little bit of aggression from the other side. So yeah, like on one side, like what I'm saying, racism is of course from the Israeli side, from a lot of, not everyone, but of course from a lot of Israeli people. And on the other side, you get just a lot of people are aggressive to you on the Arab side, on the Palestinian Israelis who are just because you don't think the same. So of course they can't like accept you fully.
Yes, and so it must be difficult to know where you stand.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
It's well, okay. So for me personally, it's not difficult where I stand. I stand as a Palestinian, as an Arab, before anything else, and maybe it's difficult for other people because a lot of people just are time on time are just forgetting their identity, and I think it's a very, very important thing to just keep your identity with you because it's a person without an identity is not a person. I was brought up with religion just because of the community and not my closer family, but let's say my grandparents, my cousins, my like uncles and aunts. They were really into religion. My family is not that into religion. My mom is, she believes in Islam and she's a Muslim. My dad considers himself a little bit farther from the religion. And me, I consider myself a little bit in between. I'm still lost. Yeah.
Lost or just in between is actually a good place to be. You can still, you have a lot of questions and you're
exactly.
Yeah, and you're looking for something.
Yeah, and I use the JPB as a help because it's not only conflict. It also focuses on the religions. It focuses on Islam, Christianity, and Judaism.
Right.
So it helped a lot.
Yes, and I think for both of you, this is a question I have. I know that there is a focus on religion as sort of bringing people together in many different ways, but also in being appreciative of each other's religion, which is a lot of what you're doing with the skill building, right? Yeah, can you speak about that?
So today, for example, we had an imam come and speak to us. He told us all about the Islam. He told us all about the things that we need, that he thinks would be good for us to know about the Islam. And I think Yousef can tell a bit more about that.
Well, yeah. So for me, or let's say for my community, the Muslim community, it's a really strict community, and especially Islam is way more strict than Christianity. It could be, and Judaism. So today, the imam that came, he was kind of a cooler, let's say, imam. He's a one of a kind. He's
laid back.
He's really laid back, and he made me change a little bit of my thoughts about, let's say, my religion, which is something I always wanted, because I deep down, I always thought that I should feel like I have to get a religion. So today was really, really relaxing and really, really good, and it made me feel better because we prayed. It was the one of the few times I pray in my life. And I felt connected for once, and his thoughts and his opinions were really close to mine, especially about religion, which is stuff that I can't even talk back home. Like I can't say. So I asked him about it, and we had a very big dialogue, and it was amazing. He explained a little bit about Reformed Islam, which is amazing, and he explained a little bit about how could you have Islam in a modern civilization, and how could it work, and I enjoyed it very much.
So he also brought it home. He brought it topical to today,
of
right?
Course, yeah.
And made it relevant.
Of course.
That would make a huge difference.
That's the thing. That's my thing. I've always stayed away from religion because I thought it was a really old thing, and new is always better, or sometimes, most of the times. So I thought that let's say religion is it had to be done back then, and I think it should be done again or reformed this time. So.
And Lucy, too, you're dealing with another ancient religion, right?
Quite ancient, yeah.
Quite, yes.
So being a Jew, so I can tell you about last year. We haven't seen our rabbi for this year yet. I think we're going to see him today. Last year we had an amazing Reformed rabbi, Steve. He was amazing, and also I had never been to a Reformed service because I'm Orthodox, I'm conservative. Back home, there's not much of a Reformed community back in Israel. It's usually conservative. So seeing the service, seeing the guitars, which is not something usual in Judaism, especially in conservative Judaism, during shul time and on Shabbos, of course. seeing that gave me a whole new light on not only religion but on Judaism as a whole. Seeing them having an amazing time celebrating religion other than worrying about it was an amazing thing to see, and I loved seeing it and I loved experiencing it, and I can't wait to experience it again tonight.
That's so cool. I mean, it's so great because it opens the whole thing up for you. It's something that's always existed in your life, but to see it from a different angle, and that's a lot about what the Jerusalem Peacebuilders are doing in many different ways.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And so you'll be hearing from the different religions and partaking of them as a group.
Yes.
Right, and everybody will go into whatever the ceremony is, or the
Exactly.
So, for example, today while we were gone, they're making challah bread. L'chevod Shabbat, as they say, for Shabbos. They're making challah bread.
Friday.
Yeah.
And of course, the Imam came today. It's a Friday, so it's the holy day for Muslims. So we had the Jummah prayer, which is the prayer that all the Muslims go together and pray. And plus we have the Jummah preach, which khutbat al-Jummah, which is the Imam just takes it each week he gets a topic and he discusses it from the religion point of view. And it was very interesting to see, because I've been to a couple of Jummah prayers, but this one was really cool. Like, all of them are really cool actually, because it's just a dialogue, not a dialogue, but it's just someone preaching, and it's all the time it's just peaceful and it's motivating.
For each of you, what was your path to the Jerusalem Peacebuilders?
So I'll begin if you don't mind. In 10th grade, I moved to a secular school. I was in a very religious school called Riglil, and then I decided that I wanted to change my path and move to a secular school in my city. And there we had a diplomacy major. In the diplomacy major, it's 5 points, and you participate in lessons that are all in English. So usually we speak Hebrew. In that particular lesson, we speak English. And that led to another opportunity, which was MUN. I started MUN. I didn't enjoy it at first, but then I got the hang of it and I started winning awards. And on my second conference, Age from the Jerusalem Peacebuilders, she was there, and also with Sarah, but Age announced scholars for Jerusalem Peacebuilders, and I was one of them who was chosen to come on this amazing trip and enjoy it. Yes.
You know, reinforcement like that and support like that, right? It goes a long way.
It does.
Yes. Yeah. And they're looking for you too. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yes. And yes.
So my path to Jerusalem Peacebuilders was that I was always that one kid that liked to debate, liked to dialogue, and loved politics. And I was only that one kid that loved talking English. I'm self-taught by English. We learn English in school, but it's very basic, and it's more of grammar. It's not how you speak or not how you present. So every single and small opportunity we had of workshops or programs in school, I always was the first one to sign up. So when JPB, Jerusalem Peacebuilders, came into our school, and Jack, who was one of the directors of the program, came into our school, I was the first one to go and listen about JPB. And seeing it being in English in the US, having everything to do with the conflict and religion, so it's basically the perfect program for me, because I'm very interested in all of these stuff. So I signed up, and we used to have classes of Jerusalem Peacebuilders when 2 years ago. So it was very, very, very interesting at first, because all the kids in class knew a little bit about politics, a little bit about religion, and it really helped us a lot. He taught us words in English like oppression, like racism, what it actually means, and not just the naive version of it. And after that, we were invited to a retreat. I was invited to it, and I went, and it was the time.
That's where we met.
That's where we met in Texas.
The retreat was in Nazareth.
Yes.
And after that, I was chosen to go to Texas, because out of all the group, there was only three people that were chosen. So it was a scholar as well. So I enjoyed it.
So we met in Nazareth, and that was the beginning of it wasn't the beginning of your journey, but it was definitely the beginning of mine. When I got there, I was there with my two friends, Nicholas and Noam, who were also waiting for us back at the camp. And we got there and we met these amazing people. and then we ended up talking and debating and understanding, attempting to understand, at least at that time, about each other. And from there it just grew.
For all of us, there are huge challenges of talking to people who don't agree with us, talking to people with different views. And I'm wondering, I'd love to hear what you say about that, because I think there's something about being able to adhere to your beliefs and your identity, as we've talked about, and yet also being very open to others.
So obviously I consider myself an Israeli. I am, well, originally British, but now I am Israeli. And Yousef identifies himself as a Palestinian. And that is something we found very difficult to accept about one another when we first met. Especially when we got to Texas, if you don't mind me telling the story. We met and we got to Texas and we started the program. It was very early days, and we had a very, very, very big debate, which followed by a falling out. We weren't very happy. Yeah, we have a lot of them, but that was one of the big ones. Yousef understood that he hurt me. I understood that I hurt Yousef from the workshops in the program. We wouldn't have understood it if it weren't for that.
Yes.
From the program, we understood each other's perspectives, each other's narratives, each other's stories. And that's the most important thing, is that he understands my story and I understand his, and that's how the debating goes away and the understanding begins and the problem solving begins as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very big thing.
Yeah, it is.
Listening to
it's pretty hard.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of time and patience and skills.
Yes.
Yeah, and Yousef, for you?
The biggest step in like being, let's say, solving the conflict, which is, I think we're very far from that, but we're very close at the same time. So the first and the biggest step is just accepting. So accepting what she is and she accepting what I am, and each side accepting the other, and trying to find a solution or try to find a mutual ground. So yeah, it was very hard at first to just accept it without being emotional, aggressive, and without being really hurtful. So after lots of debates, lots of dialogues, lots of arguments, lots of falling out, smiling, playing cards, we did so much. We could all agree that we're still doing that. We're still debating, we're still fighting, we're still making
It's not something that's easy to disappear. It can't just disappear.
Yeah, but the thing is just that we both respect each other and we respect each other's opinion, and we agree to disagree. So
yes.
That's the
main thing.
That's a very big deal. And you know, I do, from listening to you, I think that you actually, and what the Jerusalem Peacebuilders are doing as far as their skill building, is that you're really going beyond agreeing to disagree. Because very often that's a stalemate, you know, that you can both walk away and just do no more harm, you know.
Yes.
But to continue the process, to continue arguing, you know, continue discussing and understanding, that takes a lot more.
I can't say that there isn't times now that I decide to walk away and give up on the debate that we're doing because I feel like I'm not being heard. But the fact is that they're building us. They're taking our time, and we're still young. You know, we're only 18 years old. When we get to a point where we understand each other, at least that, then we've already taken a humongous step that many 18-year-olds can't say that they have done.
That's right. Or grown-ups.
Or grown-ups. Or grown-ups.
So-called grown-ups.
Yes.
Right, right. Talking about debating, talking about arguing, talking about, you know, agreeing or not agreeing, that I think one thing that happens for all of us is that we discovered that we have a lot of misconceptions about each other.
So, for example, in a couple of weeks, I am drafting into the Israeli Defense Forces. It's mandatory for all citizens that are Jewish and Israeli to draft into the Israeli army unless you find different reasons not to, but mostly it's mandatory. If not, you can not be treated very well in the country, as I can say. And I am drafting in a couple of weeks, and I shall be a commander for newcomers, as I say. Yes, yeah, for new soldiers that come in, and I shall be in charge of them and making their lives a misery during their basic training. That will be my job. Yes.
So you're going to be very well trained.
I will.
Yes.
I will. 5 months of training.
5 months.
5 months
that
of
you've
training.
already done?
No.
That you start off
That I
doing?
start off. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And you knew when you moved to Israel that this would be a part of
Yes.
the story?
So when I moved to Israel, one of the main things that my parents made clear to me was that I'm going to be drafting into the Israeli Defense Forces, but they made it into a very positive thing. They made it into a very good thing. They say it's going to build your skills, it will give you a chance for a career, and there's nothing negative about it, which is something I didn't know. I didn't know that there were negative sides, and I didn't know the Palestinian narrative, as I say.
I see.
Yeah.
So growing up, you did not know?
I did not know, no.
Aha. Has it all been through Jerusalem Peacebuilders that you've...
Yes. I didn't know the Palestinian narrative until Nazareth last year.
And Yousef, how about you? Were you aware of the Israeli narrative?
Yeah, so the thing is, of course I wasn't 100% aware. You'll never be aware when you're just in your own community, you're in your comfort zone, because you'll just know what you want to know, and you won't see the actual facts. But of course, yeah, I'm well aware of it now. Well, I'm way more than I was. But yeah, I wasn't. I should say that I wasn't as unaware as Lucy. Like I grew up in a very political aware family. We always talked about politics. We always talked about what's going on in Palestine, outside of Palestine, in occupied Palestine, in the West Bank, Gaza. I always knew about that. I know about the IDF, I know about the resistance, which is the muqawama we call it, and I know how to resist, how to use my words, how to do anything. So yeah, as of Lucy, what she just said, she said she's going to the IDF, which is a very, very, I think it's the most sensitive topic, especially for us, because they are drafting very, very soon, and we are never going to draft, or we don't even have our own army. So it's like we're kind of defendless, or that would be seen. But it's the thing is, we have something Palestinians made, which is called muqawma, which means literally translates to resistance, which is, it could be, it's a very peaceful resistance, which is by music, by art, by drawing, by movie making, by all that stuff. And it's, of course, it's with boycotting. It's boycotting all the stuff that's trying to normalize the Israeli apartheid. So it's really, so on one hand you have the army, which is for them, which is really like they have to do it, and on the other hand you have the resistance that we have to do. Maybe they have to do it because they're because it's mandatory, and we have to do it not because it's mandatory or it's forced, but we need to. So
it's cultural. It's more cultural in your country.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a very cultural thing to boycott, to try to keep your identity, as I said. So yeah, people try to keep the resistance going as long as we can. Like I could give an example of the resistance is. I could say each year when Israel have their Nakba, which is the Independence Day for Israel.
Yeah, we have our Independence Day. They have
we
the
don't
Nakba.
call it independence. We call it the Nakba, which is catastrophe in Arabic, because it's the day that our country was taken. So each day we have a big protest all over the country, occupied and not occupied, in the West Bank, Gaza, and inside of the borders. So that's a very big kind of resistance. We have a lot of Palestinian artists who go all around the world, who sing in Arabic, English, German. We have French. We have a lot of people who are trying to make the conflict popular and show the Palestinian narrative, because I personally think, and Palestinians personally think, that people don't know much about Palestine and about Muslims especially. They just know the social media narrative, which is the very, very, very negative narrative, which is very not true. Or at least where I live, in my community, and all the Palestinians I've met, it's not true, not a bit.
So I can add, that on our Independence Day, it's one of the most celebrated days of the year. That's something that we also learn in Jerusalem Peacebuilders, to accept that our stories are obviously going to be different. Independence Day is one of the biggest parties ever. When we celebrate our independence, you see kids running all around the place, the roads are closed, the stores are closed. It's time to celebrate. It's time to enjoy our nation, as they say. Yes.
Yes. So you're both having very similar experiences over pretty much the same things on very different sides,
yes.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're talking about too, in terms of dealing with conflict and the misconceptions we have, is once you start seeing someone as the other, right? Not even an enemy, but just as the other. That's where communication starts really breaking down. Yeah. And so the skills that you're using now, in some ways, it's sort of like think locally and affect globally. Right, like as you as individuals, you're able to take this out into the world, right? And do you have visions of that for your own selves?
As in taking our time, taking our experience and taking it out into the public?
Well, into your lives. At this point, into your lives. You're going to the army.
Of course.
Yousef, what are you doing next?
So, so what am I doing next? This is a question I've been asked like a million times just in the last few months. Because graduation, finishing senior year, and now everyone is expecting they put you on a very high place. You need to do this, you need to do that. Each one is telling you to do something. So right now I'm just laying back, taking my time, taking a couple years off, or I don't know, a year, 2, 3, I don't know, as long as I need, collecting my money, and then I don't know, I maybe, what I prefer is just go out of the country and just try to study abroad, maybe go to, of course I want to go to college, like a university, and get a higher education, and then I'm gonna maybe come back to my home country, hometown, or I still don't have anything figured out.
Hopefully there's peace by then.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like to add something that you asked us about, the skills that we were taught and stuff. So one of the major things I was taught in JPB, Jerusalem Peacebuilders, was storytelling. It's the last year the whole theme was just storytelling. So it was it's a really, really powerful thing if you know how to use it, because each person, you could have the same story but two narratives. So if your story is your most powerful weapon, and me personally, I started using it since last year when I came out of the program, and since then it's been helping me a lot in just getting my voice out there, and just reaching the audience that I need.
So if I can add to what he said, we have an amazing, one of our co-directors now, but the director of the program last year, Sarah, she gives us the most amazing experiences when it comes to storytelling. For example, the other day, we brought in our family pictures, and she said, tell us the story of that picture. And we each told the story of that picture, and it made us understand that the connections that we have and the similarities that we have between those pictures shows that we're not that different, but we're so different at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a great place to stop, actually. I mean, it's beautiful because it's all about our own stories and sharing them, and then we understand each other. Yes.
Awesome.
All right. We always hope for peace.
Thank you
we
so
always
much.
do.
Thank you both so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, have a great rest of the time here.
We will.
Thanks to all of you for tuning in today. We are a weekly show. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Please do tune in.